Before we get started tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on the episode of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, I want to introduce you to one of our sponsors, the Southern California Warriors Semi-Pro Football Team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. The players play in the hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film or to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just trying to play in state. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you got the love for your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can find them on social media at Twitter at SoCal Warriors. Also, you can follow on Instagram at Southern California _Warriors and Facebook, Southern California Warriors. Now on to the show. Well, the NBA draft is in the books, so we'll discuss a little bit more after we did our live show on Thursday. Plus, we're going more in depth with the Lakers and Wizards trade between Russell Westbrook going to LA and a bunch of role players for the Lakers going to the Wizards. Plus, we preview free agency, which is slowly approaching us here on August the 6th. So we'll discuss that more on our Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for that is all sports, and you're welcome to join us. And join us as you shout tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of stuff to talk about. A lot of good juju going on today. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
Everything's going good, man. I've been kind of, like I said, tuned into a lot of the draft we talked about a couple of days ago, and looking at a lot of Olympic sports going on, specifically track. But got a lot of good things going right now, man. We were just talking about some incredible news that's been dropping recently going into the preseason. Free agency season, including Chris Paul declining his $44 million deal option with the Suns.
Yeah, lots of things going on with the free agency front. You know, Chris Paul, like you said, declining his option. Kawhi announcing he declining his option. You know, a lot of guys not getting their team options picked up. The Miami Heat, you know, picking up Goran Dragic's contract, which is, you know, I thought about that. That's kind of iffy. But we'll discuss that more in length later on the show. But first, just to kind of recap, ladies and gentlemen. Me and D-Lock went live Thursday discussing the NBA draft. You can find that video. We just went over the first round. But you can find that video on YouTube. If you look on, just type in Davis and Crooks, you'll see the video on my page there. So anything like first round talk and stuff like that, you can find there. But we'll just go over a little recap of the draft. D-Lock, after the draft concluded, what are your final thoughts of the draft? Any last remaining thoughts of the 2021 draft?
Well, if you ask me, to be honest, what I really did like uh, was what the Brooklyn Nets did. Um, that was very impressive to me. I feel like grabbing the center and Darion Sharp, sorry about butchered his first name. It happens to me all the time. And going to get a kid from LSU. It just felt like that was a very good move for them. And I really feel like they won the draft as far as when it comes to drafting players. It was something that was needed because they knew what they were trying to do. I believe they have Chiozo and they declined his option. He's going to be a free agent. So there's a couple of things that happened that made a lot of sense, man. And what I really did like was what Brooklyn did. I think right now it's going to be between them and also what the Lakers did. I think, to be honest, it's going to be between those two teams. It's like they're making moves towards each other. For me, those two, Lakers and the Nets, had an impressive weekend or impressive Thursday night.
Yeah, my main thoughts is like, besides the Russell Westbrook going to the Lakers and stuff like that, I thought, more trade activity would happen. It's like for the Warriors, for example, I thought maybe since they were in a hunt for that superstar, which they still may be, come free agency, but they looking for that other star player, and I thought they had enough ammunition to get a deal done with somebody. I don't know who that may be, or it's even like Bradley Beal, pass off Siakam, somebody else we're not even thinking about. But I thought with those two picks at 7 and 14, in which they got great players at those picks, with Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. Great pickups right there, for them. But I thought, they want to do something with those picks and, force somebody's hand. I mean, I know we saw the story about, the offer on the table from the Sixers and stuff like that, but it seemed like Philly wanted too much for Ben Simmons. And we kind of talked about on the draft talk, people just remember what Ben Simmons was like this like a month and a half ago. And we talked about it on the show on Thursday, like, do y'all not see what everybody else saw? And, I know Darren Moore is good at his job, but sometimes, these analytic guys, these, white-collar type of guys come in trying to do basketball. Sometimes, you got to read the room better instead of trying to look at numbers and trying to just worry about, the bottom line. Sometimes, you got to read the room better than that. Let's be real, D-Lock. James Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins, 17-14, going to Philly for Ben Simmons and maybe like a future second-round pick. That should be enough right there, in my eyes. Would you agree?
Say that trade again.
The proposed trade, which I think, Philly declined because they wanted more assets. It was like, I think it was Wiseman, Wiggins, the 17th and 14th pick, and then I think 2 future first round picks that they wanted. But Philly said that wasn't enough for Ben Simmons. I was like,
yeah. Listen, I know, and I said this before. I think we talked about it. Like, I feel like Ben Simmons would be a great piece in most franchises, but obviously I want him to be in Orlando because he's a star in what he's done. But he's not worth the James Harden type trade. I'm sorry, like that's just what that is. He's a developing player that's going to be great, but he is not a James Harden. Like his trade, look at what James Harden trade is going to be hard to find. I mean, you should have took it. You should have ran that trade with Golden State. Now, obviously, the Wiseman thing, you got Joel Embiid in the fold, but you could have, argued and debated and got a negotiation into what you could have wanted from Golden State to make it fit better. But Ben Simmons should be in Golden State right now. I don't know if they're going to find a better trade proposal. I would have took that trade in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find out what the exact picks were. Yeah, so the Sixers, and I want to shout out to the chat real quick. Terry Rodriguez in the chat. Welcome tonight, sir. Terry, saying like Philly's asking too much for Ben Simmons, which yeah, like we kind of seen what you are in the league right now. You are what you are at this point, unless you grow courage to shoot the ball more and be more aggressive, and then we're singing a different tune. But we're trading for you what you are right now, what you can produce for us right now, and what you bring. Ball handling, not 6'10" body, can handle the ball, play great defense, rebound, very agile, athletic for your size. But other than that, if we ask you to get us 10 points in a row, you can't do that for us. It's not like asking, Giannis, hey, go give me 10 points. Hey, Devin Booker, go give me 10 points. Hey, Anthony Davis, go give me 10 points straight. You can't ask that for Ben Simmons. It's sad that a guy that talented, you can't ask that of him. Like, damn, dog.
Well, I mean, for me, I just feel like the question, do you think that Giannis can fit it with a Joel Embiid?
Yes, I think he can.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it could work, but like it would take, like they're both in the paint dominant. And something like you have two players who can maximize the same thing, so you're taking it away from different positions. I feel like Ben Simmons is a player that can dominate in the paint and play that defense, not as Giannis, but very similar to. So with that being said, you don't need a top 3, top 4 center. Like, he's going to make it easier for everybody around him. You don't need somebody to just, grab everything off the glass and put everything back up like Embiid or Shaq or anything like that. Like, I think Ben Simmons is a player that you need to put shooters around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Giannis is kind of like that. Like, hell, Giannis can grab everything off the glass. I done lost money picking Brook Lopez and FanDuel when Giannis is grabbing the boards up against him. But Brook Lopez can shoot threes if he needs to. If he goes to the free throw line, he gets fouled. He's damn near automatic for the most part. So I say that to say that there's no dominant big man on the Giannis train. Ben Simmons is a player that could be in that same situation, but it's just about how you build around him. I feel like Philly, they built around him wrong. Him and Embiid, like Embiid can grab everything off the glass. He can shoot threes. He get putbacks. Like, put some guys around him that can shoot, and that's not Ben Simmons. Like, if we're gonna be honest about what Ben Simmons is, he is not a shooter. That's not him. He's not gonna shoot north of 40% in 3-point line. He's not gonna shoot north of 30. That's not him. He's more so of a defender that can get down in the paint and dunk the ball and get a few fouls. And he obviously needs to fix on his free throw shooting. But outside of that, like, you need other guys that can do that. Now, Doc Rivers started to kind of build around that by grabbing the Seth Curry. I think Tyronn Maxey, I think, is a pretty solid player. But Ben Simmons doesn't need to be your point guard. I feel like he needs to be your small forward. He needs to be your point forward. He's more so of a person that can facilitate and play defense. So, for me, he would fit perfectly in Golden State because they got the Klay Thompson and they got the Steph Curry and they had a hell of a draft. You put him in that fold, you tag him with Draymond Green, like you got your board grabbers, you got your defense, and then you got your shooters on the outside. So it could have worked, but it's just how do a team, the playoffs really did Ben Simmons wrong. I feel like that really hurt what he's done for years and years and years. The difference between him and Giannis is Giannis will take the three when he's open. Ben Simmons won't. Ben Simmons will be scared to pass it to somebody else. But defending-wise, they're both hell of a great players in that aspect. So, for me, I just feel like when you look at Ben Simmons, like, you can't make him into a Ray Allen because that's not him. I guess that's not his game. He's more like even with the Lakers with the Kobe and the Shaq, they had Rick Fox. Even with LeBron and D Wade, they had the Shane Battier. They had the guys that can play defense, that can shoot from time to time, but they're most of defenders. I feel like Ben Simmons is very similar in that aspect, but he's going to get all his paints in the point. That's him. He's going to get all his points in the paint. That's him. A team needs to know that. So when you trade for him, if they do, you're building around a player who's a great defender, who can score at will inside of the paint. But you still need, what kind of game this is. You need somebody that can jack up 30-footers, 28-footers, 25-footers. So you get Ben Simmons, but you build around this guy. Houston needs to be one of the teams that need to consider, if you ask me.
And, looking at this draft, the Warriors got that with Moses Moody. He ain't scared to jack up shots.
Exactly.
So I'm if he develops with that core guys and learn, great shooting techniques from Curry, Klay Thompson, and Steve Kerr, man, he'd be straight for the league for years. And then, let's go back to the top of the draft real quick. Kay Cunningham, I think no surprise going number 1 overall, even though Detroit kind of dragged their feet on it. I had this player comp for him, D-Lock. I think he's kind of like a Grant Hill in a sense.
Yeah.
Kind of like that type of mode. Like when Grant got drafted to Detroit, that athleticism, that point forward ability to handle the ball, play 3 positions, maybe 4. I think, Detroit got the best player in the draft. And then, what's your opinion of Jalen Green going to the Rockets? Can he develop to be that next superstar for them?
I like that pick. I just want to see how him and Kevin Porter work. I think him and Kevin Porter could be the future for the Rockets. It looked like it can fit well. But the question is, what do they do? The serious question is, what do they do with John Wall? Like, how long does John Wall stay there? Like, are they going to still try to build something around him when they clearly have a pretty solid player, Kevin Porter, and they just drafted Jalen Green? I feel like now, trading James Harden away, that should be a sign of them, like, rebuilding. And if you're going to rebuild, that's also part of getting rid of John Wall, if you ask me. I think John Wall would probably fit perfect in Philly. I feel like that would be a solid place for him to be. Hell, that probably would be bad in the trade between them and with Ben Simmons. But that's a different discussion for a different day. To me, I really like to pick Jalen Green, him and Kevin Porter. And then don't forget you got Kenyon Martin as well. Kenyon Martin Jr., I'm sorry. That can be a solid piece as well. I'm not sure how long Christian Wood stays there, but I like that core that they have. Jalen Green is going to be a star sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think for Houston's sake, I hope they, develop nicely. I think he'll be a great player, but it's gonna be some rough patches early on. But with Kevin Porter there, I think he's a scoring machine himself, and I think if you if Jalen Green establishes himself as that top dude, then you gotta give the reins to Jalen Green because that's who you invested that number 2 pick overall with. And then Cavaliers drafted Evan Mobley. Fine pickup for the Cavs. I know they say they can play Jared Allen and Mobley together, but I'm not seeing it. And let me put you in the seat here. If you're a GM, the Cavs drafted Evan Mobley and Jared Allen going to restricted free agency. If you're a team with cap space, we throw a boatload of money at them to see if they'll match it.
I probably would because I know what Jared Allen. I know what Jared Allen can do. Now, clearly, this is me being the GM that needs a center. Like, I probably would throw everything at him because I know that he can be one of the better centers in the league. Like, it's clear he's done that. He looked very good in Brooklyn. Cleveland looks like they're just in a sense of rebuilding mode as well. So I don't think, to be honest, I don't think that they paid Jared Allen. I think they're going to build around Evan Mobley. Kevin Love is probably going to be out the door. We talked about Colin Sexton earlier. We thought that he might have been moved. But the fact that they went with the best player available, I'm assuming, in Evan Mobley, I don't see them really giving Jared Allen like what he wants. So the way I would go about it is I wouldn't necessarily offer something crazy, but it'd be something to where I'm like, damn, okay, like this is gonna run them away. I'm gonna offer them. I'm gonna send them an offer sheet and sign an offer sheet that I more than likely they're gonna refuse because they just drafted Mobley. So unless they're gonna trade Mobley, I think Allen is out of there. So it's just about what team actually makes the move, and I would be one of them if I was a GM.
Yeah, I'm curious if they do keep Allen. I'm curious to see how that fit works. I mean, I know they probably banking on Mobley being more that stretch big man to score, but I just don't see it. And I think Mobley kind of still need that space early in his career down low to operate. In my eyes. But we'll see how that plays out for Cleveland. Next pick, number 4, Scotty Barnes going to Toronto. I think this is a pick.
Move.
I think this is a pick me and you didn't really like, just because
who was there.
Well, not only that, but a lot of those same type of players you could have found later on in this draft. There's potential there for Scotty Barnes. I'm not saying that. But, if you're going to go for that long, lanky forward, there's like a whole host of them in this draft. In my eyes. What you think about that?
I just felt like it was so many different things that they can grab later. But the fact that Jalen Suggs was sitting there, and I was hella happy when they passed him and the Magic grabbed him. But Kyle Lowry is more than likely going to leave, and it looks like the Heat are interested in him to sign the trade with Goran Dragic. It seems like with already having OG Anunoby, already having Pascal Siakam, like they really didn't need another forward. Like they were kind of set. They were needing a point guard. So, for me, you could have got somebody similar later down the draft. But, I mean, does this give us a sign that Pascal Siakam could be moved? Like, OG and Anunoby can be moved? Like, drafting him right there, knowing that you need a guard was kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, Without having the Toronto Raptors roster in front of me, I'm not too sure. You know, I don't know who else is like guard wise is on in that roster. I haven't really checked, but I was just like, maybe it can work, maybe it cannot. I don't know. But you mentioned about Siakam. His name has been in trade rumors here for a little bit, but nothing really has materialized yet. And if you happen to trade him, then you kind of look at full rebuild mode in a sense. Lowry be gone. DeRozan's gone for a couple years now. Kawhi's gone. Gasol's gone. Now Siakam's gone. So after that, you kind of in rebuild mode in a sense. But it appears it's not going to look like that for Toronto. So we'll see. And we'll see how they play Scotty Barnes. I saw a couple other videos, after we done our show that, even though he's not a great shooter, Scotty Barnes, you could probably play him at point guard in a sense. I was like, ooh. That'd be interesting about a 6'8", 6'9" point guard. But as we see these other tall point guards, at least some of them shoot. And Scotty Barnes is the world's best shooter. So we'll see how that plays out for Toronto. But number 5, we'll go to your Orlando Magic. Jalen Suggs going there. How happy were you when he kind of fell to the Magic at 5?
I couldn't believe that he fell to us. That was something that's my thing. Like because to be honest, I was expecting us to get Scotty Barnes at 5. I was expecting Jalen Suggs to be gone. So, like, that was the most. I felt like the Bucks winning the Super Bowl all over again. Because I just feel like this is a piece that we can build around. But again, we talked about this before. Like, hell, you could put Michael Jordan on the Magic team or whatever team. It's about how the organization develops them and how they build around the player. So it's clear that Jalen Suggs is one of the guys that is going to have a long career, great NBA career. It's clear that he has the possibilities of doing that. But now it's about actually putting it together and seeing like how he can really help us. So for me, I was ecstatic, and I feel like now he can be, what the star that we need. Now you're in a situation where you have R.D. Hampton, Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, Gary Harris. Somebody's going to be out of rotation. MCW has a Michael Carter Williams. So somebody is going to be in a situation where they're probably not going to see minutes, or you're probably going to trade one of them. Now, again, this falls right back into the Ben Simmons trade, because we know that Philly would love to have guards, and we laughed when the damn Philly drafted a guard, the guard they got, saying that he's an aggressive scorer. So we thought that was kind of trolling Ben Simmons in a sense, but. Yeah, I really like the pick. I'm expecting him to be a hell of a piece for us, but it does take the whole organization to help him be successful as well. There's a quote that says, "I can take a camel to the water, but I can't make him drink."
Yep.
The Magic are not taking their camels to the water to give them a chance to drink.
Yeah. I like the pick for the Magic. He's one of my top 3 players, regardless of position in the draft. So I thought, him going there, was not only like a kind of like a luxury pick in a sense, but also kind of like a need because you got a lot of young guards on that roster, and you know who's going to perform, you know who's going to rise to the top and stuff like that. But also give you assurance for Markelle Fultz, you know, depending on how he is with this injury recovery. So you got that in your, you know, you got that in your back pocket. In this case, Fultz doesn't, you know, live up to expectations, or Cole Anthony, you know, fizzles out. You got at least you got Suggs in the fold that could be that dude for a franchise player for y'all down the line, in my eyes. And then who knows? See what happens with RJ Hampton as well. You know, a guy I think said that was a 6'5", but grew a couple inches. So you got at least like a 6'6" guard there as well that can play point and two guard. So you got a lot of combinations there in that back court to see how things go with y'all.
And that's the thing, like, you got the pieces. Just get it done now.
And that depends on coaching too. Definitely depends on coaching. But going to the chat real quick before we move on to our other subject. Terrence saying, yeah, the Rockets are hitting the rebuild button, but they got a soon-to-be BCO player in Josh Christopher. So, yeah, the Rockets in rebuild mode, and we'll see, you know, if they keep Wood and Wall in place, and you know, or trade them away, do something with them, get more future assets. But D-Lock, let's quickly transition to the big trade that happened earlier that afternoon on Thursday. Russell Westbrook getting traded to the Lakers. In terms of that deal, you have Westbrook and a future second-round pick going to the Lakers for Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Montrezl Harrell, the 21st pick of that NBA draft. And I think maybe another pick thrown in there. Maybe not off the top of my head. So, what were your initial thoughts of that trade happening? You know, the Wizards and Lakers going through.
I feel like when I first seen it, the first thing I was thinking is that the fact that LeBron is going to get so much time of rest. He's going to be fresh come playoff time. LeBron is not going to be asked to do so much with Russ and AD there now. You know, Russ will be the Energizer Bunny. AD is going to be AD. Still got to figure out what they're going to do with Drummond. Even though you have your shooting percentage may decrease with a Russ, but he's going to give a lot more effort than what Kyle Kuzma and Kentavious Pope did. Like, how can you Caldwell Pope? How can you really, in a sense, put them in the same category? I mean, we've seen what Kyle Kuzma did this year. Hell, we even seen what he did previous years before, and it just didn't look like he was developing into that guy. Caldwell Pope, I feel like he was more so of that shooter that if it worked, if he was clicking tonight, then he would, but that was one of those rare moments. That's the reason why he was like 3,500. For those that you don't know, 3,500 is like the league minimum on FanDuel. But he would click one night and not play for the next like 10 games. So trading for a Russ with that energizer bunny that he has, that's going to take a lot less work away from LeBron. Now, I really feel like this is going to be the year that we don't see LeBron in the MVP conversation. And the reason why is not because LeBron has taken a step back, but because they're not going to ask as much from him. Like, he's going to be able to, you know, just kind of come in and get the shot that he needs at the right time and let others take over and do what they do. I think we had this conversation before. You asked me who would I rather have in L.A. between Chris Paul and Russ, and I said Russ. And the reason why is this specifically. When LeBron is off the court, they need somebody to continue the energy. We know what LeBron possesses. So you need somebody that's going to continue to keep that energy up with an AD. So now and then, I think the fact that, to be honest, I think the reason why Trez is out the door, Montrezl Harrell is out the door, is because they picked up a Drummond, during the season. I don't know if this trade really happens if Drummond doesn't come to LA. So when you get a Drummond, clearly you got to pick and choose between Gasol and Trez. Trez is that role player, that six-man candidate. So for me, it wasn't a bad move. But I really like the fact that now it's going to be less work for LeBron. Because LeBron is, literally we're talking about LeBron James. So, and that's why I said earlier, this looks like a Nets and Lakers back and forth kind of move. They're picking based off of who this person has and what they need. And they're picking to get better because they're going to have to compete with each other at some point. So, for me, it's gonna be something big. And I think that this was a very big move. A lot of people question the fact that Russ is gonna be under LeBron, and they're saying like, well, how's he gonna average a triple double under LeBron? It's never gonna work. But I feel like LeBron's gonna take him under his wing and get him to understand how to get to that winning aspect. So we might not see the usual triple double Russ. The energy is going to be there, but I think he's going to get a lot more people involved. And once he can do that, I think it's going to be huge. Also, the Lakers need to grab maybe one or two more shooters, which I think they may grab in free agency.
All right. Here's my initial thoughts when the trade happened. But before that, and Tyrion, he corrected me. Yeah. The Lakers got 2 second-round picks, 2024 and 2028. So, yeah, I knew they got some second-round picks. I didn't know the year, so I appreciate that. Terrence saying, I don't get why people are saying this is a bad trade. Well, Westbrook averaged a triple-double. Losing Trez and 22nd pick was tough, but Westbrook, LeBron, AD is a great trio. The rest will build itself. So, my initial thoughts on the trade was like this. Before, there was reports about Kuzma and Montrez and the 22nd pick going to the Kings for Buddy Hield. And I think that was set in stone until, I guess, the Westbrook thing kind of popped up. And I think the Lakers looked at it as the better player, in a sense. The more impactful player. The name and stuff like that. And I think that's what, the Lakers leaned on. With that trade. And also, you offloaded another salary in Caldwell Pope, who, like you mentioned, on his best days, that's when the team is kind of like playing bad. But when the team playing good, sometimes he don't really contribute to that. And not just, and just shooting wise, really, he's not really consistent like that. You want him to be. And I'm not saying in an 82 game season, yeah, you're going to have your off days. But sometimes it's like, damn, dog, can you put it together and string those games along a little bit better? When I asked for much. But sometimes you didn't get that from him. At times. Kuzma. I understand giving up the higher value players for AD. And also, you going back to the potential Kawhi trade years ago, the Lakers and Kawhi. Yeah, they didn't really give up Kuzma. I think, kind of looking at it back now, the Lakers kind of bet on the wrong horse with the young kids. And I think Kuzma, no fault in his own, in the sense that he kind of fell on that good stats on a bad team type of thing we see with these young players in the first and second years in the league with sorry teams. We saw that in Michael Carter Williams, and we've seen that, I just use him for example, but a host of other guys. They had these good years, and then after a while, once the team gets good, a little bit better, you know, they ain't producing like you hope they would. And Kuz kind of fell victim to that. And, you know, always kind of baffled me, the Lakers did give him that extension, but I understood it just in case, you know, like a trade like this was going to happen. So at least you got a former MVP coming back to y'all in former Lakers. Now, will Westbrook fit with the Lakers? With LeBron? Time will tell. You know, like you mentioned about LeBron not having so much pressure to do a lot of things. Will he allow that? That's one thing I always got a kick over LeBron. Sometimes he trying to do too much, trying to do too much for himself, and sometimes it really don't go with the flow for the team. Yeah, I know the report saying, you know, they have, you know, AD, Russ, and LeBron all met up to talk about that, but, you know, talking and doing are two different things. So that's the thing to keep an eye on for the next season, upcoming season coming up. Can these guys put their egos aside and do for the greater good? But I like to trade for the Lakers, get Russ back home.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a very good pickup. But my thing is, I feel like we're used to what we're seeing with Russ when he was at Houston, at Washington, at OKC. The guy that just goes and goes and goes, grabs everything off the glass. He looks like he's a stat sheet stuffer. I don't think we see that guy this year coming up. Like, I really don't. Like, you know, I use this example for those that watch football. Like, you know, AB, Antonio Brown, was a head case with a lot of different issues going on. And it was like saying, well, I think Bruce Arians, head coach of the Bucks, people were saying, well, no, I wouldn't give AB because this, that, and third. He does this, he does that. He's never going to change. He signs to Tampa and gets under one of the greatest quarterbacks or players of all time in the NFL, and Tom Brady. And you hear nothing from this guy. Like, nothing. The first interview that he does, he has a Tom Brady hat on. So clearly, Tom Brady has made an impact on his life, you know, at that point when he got to Tampa. I feel like it's going to be very similar for Russ going under LeBron or anybody that goes to LeBron. Like, LeBron is going to be LeBron, and he's going to let them know, hey, you know, this is how we do things. This is how we be successful. Like, we're talking about somebody that's been to 10 NBA Finals. Like, we've talking about somebody that is one of the greatest of all time. So, he's going to make adjustments between each other. He's not going to make it to where it's not fair for us. I disagree. Again, I feel like we go back to the comparison that people will say, well, Montrezl Harrell didn't play that much. I feel like that happened because Drummond came into the fold. So I feel like those adjustments will happen. Hell, we know what Dennis Schroeder did before the season even started. He said he was promised to be the starting point guard. He screwed himself with that. So for me, I feel like Russ is going to play a perfect role under LeBron. Like, that is another player that you need to fit in with what LeBron is trying to do in LA, what LeBron and AD are trying to do in LA. They need that kind of piece. They need that energy because clearly this past year, you see what the Lakers look like without LeBron on the court. Like, they look flat. Like, Kuzma will come in there and it just looked like they're not, like, being aggressive. And that's what they were missing. So the grab of Russ was a huge piece. But I don't think the Lakers are done yet either.
And I think this, you know, what you mentioned, but the Lakers not being done yet, I think this kind of transition to our last bit of the show, talking about free agency and whatnot. The Lakers are kind of linked to damn near everybody, in a sense. There's like reports, even before we got on the air, like Victor Oladipo is on the radar for the vet minimum. I seen Rudy Gay Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, J.J. Redick, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry. I feel like I'm missing somebody else. Would it be wise for the Lakers to sign a whole bunch of vets like that? Or they need a good mix of some vets, but some young bloods in there as well? What are your thoughts on that? With some of the names I mentioned.
I feel like there's nothing wrong with grabbing some more vets because at this point, you're in the center. Like I said, the Lakers are king. It's like they're game planning against Brooklyn. That's no disrespect from Milwaukee. I just feel like Brooklyn's going to be a hell of a better team this year coming up. But they need to get more vets. I feel like this is one person that's still in the damn team. And I ain't going to lie, this is the one person like I'm trying to figure out what the hell the Lakers got going on. And maybe they're just under LeBron's thumb. But THT, like, it's something that they see in this dude, like, that makes them continue to keep him to be a much better player. So I'm thinking he's going to be that young cat that he got that kind of gets into the rotational role. But they may need another vet there. But they have a lot of them already. Being the fact that they got Russ, being the fact LeBron and AD, looks like Drummond. We'll see what happens with that. And Marc Gasol. So they have a couple guys, but to throw in, with a player like LeBron, it's not going to have too many young players on their team because they're trying to win right now. But because they want to have at least, a good rotation of guys that they can put in and take off of what LeBron is needed to do. So for me, I would say, you're looking at DeRozan, who had a hell of a show with Shannon Sharp, is a person that you can possibly put on your team. It's a couple guys. Kyle Lowry is another piece who I'm still thinking that Miami Heat may try to go and grab him. But that doesn't mean that Dragic is ruled out to go to Toronto or to go to LA as well. So for me, I'm thinking to grab more vets. Another person I do like too is Spencer Dinwiddie. But that's where they are right now. I mean, because we know LeBron is on his way out soon. And at this point, you need to get that roster full because you already have, a young group last year and you see how that played out. I think THT needs to step up and play more. It feels like as much as they talk about him, as much as they're denying so many damn trades, like with him added into it, like I need to see, or us fans need to see what does he possess. Because it just seems like they're still waiting for him to develop, and I haven't seen anything yet. So grabbing, a few more vet players, which I think they will do, and then let's not forget they will be competing with the Clippers as well, who looks like they're probably going to extend Kawhi Leonard, who declined his option to a longer term deal. So, yeah, man, like this is an opportunity that can change a lot. And also, we were seeing that Chris Paul is a free agent too, but he might go somewhere where a vet is needed. So, I would say that the Lakers need to lean more on vets. Go grab the Carmelo Anthony, and the DeMar DeRozan to get ready for next year because at this point, LeBron is on his way out soon.
Yeah, I think looking at that August 2nd. Well, which is tomorrow. Negotiations begins at 6 Eastern. So it's going to be a lot of things going to be happening here, right off the cuff for a free agency. If the Lakers grab some of those vets, that'd be good. If they can convince them to come in for the vet minimum, and maybe trying to find a way to find somebody in the mid-low section, that'll be awesome for them. But like you mentioned, they need some shooting. I don't know, who you look towards to that. But they need some shooting. They need like a young blood down low, in my eyes. I know they think about bring back Drummond. I know Dwight think about coming back, but you need a young blood under that umbrella. I know, man, I forgot about Gasol too. He's still on the contract, but you need a young blood kind of under there just in case. You know, you need some fresh legs down there and see how that goes and stuff like that for the Lakers. But let me go to the Wizards side of things real quick. I know Bradley Beal has said that he doesn't want to be traded and wants to stay in Washington. Let me ask you this. Is that the smart move for him to make? It's tough. It's like, we're trying to look out for you, dog.
My thing is, shout out to Bradley Beal because he's a University of Florida Gator, so I want to be a fan. But my thing is, him making that comment or that decision is what is he aiming for? It leaves you in question. Like, does he really want to pick up championships, or is he just collecting his money? Clearly, the Wizards are at the bottom of the East. Now, I told you before, I like their roster. I really did. I still kind of do like the roster. Hell, I probably like it even better the fact that Trez is over there. Not sure what Kuzma's going to do, but maybe as we've seen other former LA Laker players do when they go to a different team, they play a hell of a lot better. So we may see him evolve into a better player somewhere else or in Washington. But I don't see the Wizards contending for a title right now. I just don't. So I tell one of my friends, hey, we play FanDuel next year or we're doing fantasy basketball next year. Listen, I would pick Bradley Beal number one overall the way he's talking because he's going to have to do everything for the Wizards. So, but it's just leaving you kind of confused. Like, what is your motive? What are you just collecting money? Or is this just where you're comfortable at? Like, what is the motive? I mean, it's hard for me to say it's a bad move if he's just comfortable there and he wants to make money. But it is a bad move if he wants to win the championship in Washington, in a sense, unless he's going to wait until they continue to bring in more players. But, I mean, we'll see.
I mean, I think we talked about in our draft talk on Thursday, like, there's a report out there that are interested in Spencer Dinwiddie and trading Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell away to kind of help facilitate that sign and trade. That's one avenue they have looked at. But, much I like Spencer Dinwiddie, he ain't gonna carry you to the promised land. Those two in the backcourt ain't gonna carry you to the promised land. So my thing with Bill is like, if you want to collect money like you mentioned and stay in DC, hey, that's cool. That's your prerogative. But my thing is, I don't want to see him come this time next year or the year after that saying, well, hey, I want to be traded. I'm tired of this place. Trade me. I won't go here. No, dog. I mean, they traded Russ. And I thought that'd be like the perfect getaway for them to kind of break it all down and rebuild and suck for a couple years and get some high quality players and just go about that way. But if he's content there, then they somewhat got half-ass and put a team around him. I was like, that's not the way you should just have an NBA team, in my eyes.
I mean, for me, I just feel like it seems like he's comfortable there, but I know it's hard for players to move and go different areas. I think that plays a huge part and those decisions that they make. But man, it's hard to you're committed to one place and then you got to go somewhere else. But because of what happens is it's kind of like you go to work all the time at this job and you're there for 2 or 3 years. And it's like everybody in the office, all the customers that you see, everybody that's be there, and then all of a sudden you get another job offer or another opportunity that could be much better. Or necessarily you see an opportunity somewhere else. But what happens is you're so comfortable with where you are. It's like, how do I leave, what I'm comfortable with? So for me, I think that plays a huge part. And then also, we're talking about an athlete that literally probably has a house in Hawaii. He probably has everything he needs in Washington. He's making, as much money as he would want to make anywhere else. But again, it goes with the purpose. Is he comfortable with just collecting a lot of money and having a lot of stats? Is he okay? I'm pretty sure earlier this year I'm almost positive we've seen a picture of him having like 50 points in one game, something like that, and they still lost, and he had this disappointing look on his face. Like he was a meme. I don't know if you remember, but he literally was like a meme for like 2 or 3 weeks. So like that tells me alone that winning is important too. So at some point, this decision of saying, well, yeah, I don't mind staying in Washington. Like, how long are you going to say that? Remember, we had the same conversation about Dame, saying the same crap about how he doesn't mind staying in Portland, and he's not with the teaming up things and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden, we're hearing that he doesn't mind being traded. So, for me, it sounds good. It sounds great. But we'll see what happens when, a year or two goes down the road and Washington could possibly be still drafting top 5 or in the lottery every year. That's going to tell us how do you feel about staying there? Because now, clearly, he's one of the better players in the league. So clearly, people are blowing his mentions up. ESPN reporters and everybody saying, well, Bradley Beal should go here, go there. Like, they're having these expectations in what he should do. And he's shooting it down automatically, clearly, because Washington's asking for the front office. So it's going to be kind of interesting, man, because at this point, your decisions on what you want to do or what he wants to do is going to be valid. Are you okay with, not making the playoffs or barely getting in and getting swept the first round? Like, how far are you okay with that?
Yeah, and that's a question he's got to ask for. And we'll see what happens when free agency, kicks off here tomorrow. And see what happens there. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. D-Lock, how can the people find you on social media?
They definitely can find me at Black-813. Mind you, I have one of my best friends. Shout out to Michael Cherry. He's running the 400 tonight at Olympics semifinals. Hopefully makes the finals. So if you do see me tweeting anything crazy, you just watch or retweet. So then they got the 100 hurdles coming on tonight. So I definitely tune into that. Also, remember that the USA basketball team, they play Tuesday, I believe, the quarterfinal against Spain. So make sure you guys tune into that. We'll be talking about it as well. Let them know about you and the show that you got going on in your podcast.
First, y'all can follow the show at Twitter at FastBreak at IESR. That's FastBreak IESR. Also, please do follow IE Sports Radio on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and follow the website as well, IESportsRadio.com. We catch all the playback on the show. Also, you can find me on Twitter at Spawn4288. That is Spawn4288. Also, I do another podcast on the side of Crooks Process. You can find the show on Instagram and Facebook. I recently did an episode talking about some wrestling news about CM Punk and Daniel Bryan being all elite. So, do be on the lookout for that. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, follow us on Twitter. Free agency is about to start here about next about 24 hours. But until then, we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
We out.